God did not inspire Paul in the first place to write about submission. Now let's assume God is all-knowing and he knows the beginning from the end, knowing that a lot of men will use the word submission to subjugate and abuse his daughters in the Lord, especially his daughters, because now for church, these men, when they use submission, they deal with women mercilessly pass. He knows the future. He knows that this submission where Paul will write about, men will use it to deal with his daughters. As a girl, that what is he supposed to do? To remove the word submission from the inspiration he gave Paul in the first place. That the word submission will not exist in the Bible, so that men will not use it to subjugate his daughters. You cannot come and say, oh, God's purpose is not for women to be subjugated, God's purpose is not for, but he allowed submission in the Bible. He allowed it to be preached everywhere, every day. As a girl that he is, everything could have been avoided. He would have saved his daughters that have been killed in the hands of men in the name of submission.
Oh, guys, I want you to understand that these women are women I respect personally here on TikTok because of their audacity, their voice, their courage on feminism movement. So whenever you see me countering them, it's not from a place of me being against them or from me being hateful. It's from me trying to correct their erroneous ideology, which they uphold due to the wickedness of patriarchy, and it is 100% valid. But now, two wrongs cannot make a right. The patriarchal people are practicing their wickedness both in and out of Christianity, and then we want to correct it through feminism, and we're going to also be adding misconceptions from the Bible. At the long run, it will bring us back to something we will not expect. So somebody just have to be creating a balance between these two. Now, so she's talking about submission. I made a video in my previous, you can go and watch it to understand better, but I want you guys to understand that in Ephesians 5 verse 21, 22, down 25, that Apostle Paul was talking about submission for women. Remember that the Bible, the New Testament, was written in Greek. The Greek word there was hypotazo, and the submission meaning of hypotazo is different from the English meaning of submission that we have now. I don't know if you're getting me. The English meaning of submission that we have now, and that is being practiced by these patriarchal preachers, pastors, and men, is the one of hierarchy, control, dominating, forceful obedience, etc. I would look for a screenshot to post up for you, understand. Whereas the kind of submission which is that Apostle Paul used, which is hypotazo, the submission meaning that Apostle Paul used as at that time is a willful obedience, voluntary obedience. I choose to be obedient to this person. I choose to be obedient in this relational order. I choose to be in cooperation in this relationship. Now, I also want you to understand that these pastors, in order to push their patriarchal agenda, they do not preach that same Ephesians that Apostle Paul talked about. The Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 first created a foundation, says, submitting yourself one to another. That was what Apostle Paul said. Verse 21 said, submitting yourself one to another. Meaning, as a man, you have to submit to your wife, and as a wife, you submit to your husband. That is supposed to be the foundation, the balanced foundation for a godly marriage. Submitting yourself one to another. The submission used there is the same hypotazo, voluntary obedience, willful obedience. Do you understand? Then Paul went later in verse 22 downwards to say, as a wife, submit to your husband, and as a husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church. My problem with these patriarchal pastors pushing their patriarchal agenda is the fact that they do not even teach this men, both the